Steroids, Ozempic, those types of things are not going to give you the physique that you want. It is going to be what we said at the very beginning, those first 5 principles. Those are what's going to make the changes and make lasting changes. Why are you going to the gym? Why are you wanting to lift? Why are you wanting to get a better body? That usually creates more fuel to push past the monotony of going to the gym and doing the same thing day in, day out.
Even those who made it still feel insecure about the way they look, like the accomplished fitness bodybuilders. It makes you think that no matter how much you focus on your appearance, if you don't love yourself for who you truly are, you will never be satisfied with external validation. So yeah, building a good body will make you more confident, might get you the goals that you are after, might get you some compliments, but it doesn't make up for the lack of internal self-worth. So focusing on that perhaps should precede focusing and nitpicking on how good you look.
Form overall, and then intensity, and then the weight. Because if you're lifting incorrectly, you're going to be very prone to injury, muscle strains, possible joint injuries, ligament injuries. And so form, bar none, is the most important. After that, it's the intensity, because you can get a really good workout with just 10-pound dumbbells, moving them correctly.
Jacob, you've been a professional bodybuilder for the last 5 years now. What are the biggest lessons you've learned from your journey so far?
Some of the biggest lessons I've learned over my time bodybuilding, it's definitely been discipline, and consistency are what brings real results. And also having a good understanding of the mental health behind things, because it takes a lot to do everything that you need to, the consistency, the day in, day out, because it's not like a sport, a normal sport, American football, baseball, where you can go in, practice, and then the rest of the day you do whatever you want to do. It's literally everything you do throughout the day. It involves kind of what you're eating, how much activity you're going throughout the day, and just kind of everything is focused around taking care of your body as best as you can. And so it's consistency, discipline, and then creating a routine that helps support that.
Nice. And what would you say is the most difficult part of that process? Is it the dieting? Is it putting in the reps? Or is it just preparing for the competition? What has been the most challenging part out of, the whole journey?
The hardest part, I mean, the working out, putting in the reps, that's the fun part. That's what people enjoy, yeah. Right? And then competition is kind of like getting ready for the big day. And so you're very focused. And it's kind of everything in between that's difficult. It's the discipline, the sticking to things, the missing out on social activity.
Right.
And turning people down for things, or telling people it's like, hey, I'm choosing not to do that. And so it's, if you don't have the right people around, it can put a really hard social strain. But yeah, probably the consistency and the discipline is the most difficult part, because it's so easy to just turn it off and you're like, I'm done.
Yeah. And most of us, let's say perhaps the longest I've focused on the gym is 6 months. And that's when I had time as a student and I was like, I want to build a body. But after that 6-month period, I just gave up. And most people, including myself, I think, don't really know what true discipline and consistency is, because to get where you are now, where you were in your competition phase, it takes 4, 5, 10 years of doing almost the same thing in lifestyle. So it is a lifestyle, basically. It's not just like an act. I'm going to the gym, I'm keeping diet. No. It's sacrificing everything else for that. And yeah, that's very big. And that's why I have massive respect for bodybuilders.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been a learning process, to say the least, because it's not like you wake up with the level of discipline that you
Yeah.
need to be consistent with things. It's it takes a lot of mental effort and kind of self-identifying why something is so important. Because, like you said, when we were in school, you had that goal. You're like, I want to get in shape, and then life started happening and things started picking up, and you shifted the priority of it, and that's very, very common for a lot of people. And so, for those of us that shift our lifestyle completely to it, it it takes a lot, because we
Yeah.
build our life around health, fitness, going to the gym. It sounds very vain,
Mm.
uh, to be a bodybuilder, but the things I've learned from it and are life lessons that I try to provide to all of the clients that I bring on.
Mm. There's this quote by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm gonna butcher the quote, but this goes something along the way. The physique is the ultimate status symbol because you cannot steal it, you cannot borrow it, no one can take it from you. If you don't consistently maintain it, you're gonna lose it. So it's not like if you have money, you can buy things, but you cannot buy a physique.
No.
So in a way, I think that quote is absolutely true because it is the ultimate status symbol.
Mhm.
Now, adding that, if you're running a business and you have healthy relationships, that is like, that's even greater status because it means you managed to build your physique without sacrificing so much the rest of your life.
Yeah. And that's the goal, right?
That's
It's
the goal.
to build those relationships around, because it's truly having a support system is one of the biggest things in my life to be able to do this. Like my wife, she is hands down the best thing, um, to help me get through all of these things. And she does bodybuilding with me,
Yeah.
and just getting friends and family on the same page is it's very comforting knowing that when you build that social relationship with people, they can support you. But yeah, I agree with Arnold's quote, because it you can't buy it. You got to work
Okay.
for it. Everything's earned through blood, sweat, and tears. Um, and it's funny because it's something that all of us want, to have a good physique.
Yeah.
Um, because it also, not only for the social aspect, right, of being recognized and seen, but also for the mental confidence that it can actually
Yes.
bring when you're in shape or you feel good about what skin you're walking around in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so I want you to rank me what are the most important aspects of bodybuilding. I'm going to give you five aspects of it, and
Okay.
then let maybe go from the least to the most important. Okay, so
Okay.
it's diet, lifting, consistency, having a good training plan slash bespoke supplementation, or sleep and recovery. So we have
Okay.
diet,
Uh-huh.
lifting, consistency, having a good plan and supplementation, I guess, and then
Yep.
sleep and recovery as one.
So diet is by far the most important.
The most important.
Uh-huh. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
going the opposite way. Least important.
That's fine. You can do most important.
um 'Cause yeah, that's just how my brain started processing is, yeah, diet's the most
Number
important.
one. Okay.
Number one. Um, and then consistency. Those are very, very similar. Um, Diet, consistency, sleep and recovery, supplementation, and lifting.
Really, lifting is the last one. Wow.
Because if you don't have those four first ones, everything you do in the gym is going to go up in smoke. You can lift as heavy as you want, you can work out as hard as you can, but if you're not recovering, if you're not sleeping, and if you're not staying consistent, with the nutrition, with working out, with being that intense, your body's not going to change. And so it's
Right.
everything you do outside of the gym fuels the changes that you fight for or push for in the gym.
I see. I would expect a good training plan to be last, but you say is the lifting part of it. Yeah, because I suppose that's one of the reasons people don't see many gains is because they have a beer 2-3 hours before sleep, and the thing is going to be fine, but it messes up their sleep. Or then they have their occasional cheat day, which is not so occasional, and oh, I can't have my abs. And then it's like so many people go to the gym and don't know how to work out. And it's like, oh, I've been working out for 5 years and I'm still, the way I started. And yeah, you do need a training plan. So yeah, perhaps you're absolutely right. Yeah.
No, it's a very common misconception
Hmm.
that a lot of people have because they it's almost like they go directly to what they want and they don't look at the journey of what has to
Hmm.
happen. A really good example of this is my sister-in-law. She's gone on a weight loss journey of her own. She's lost almost 50 pounds in these past 4 months, 5 months since October. She went on this weight loss journey, and all she's been doing are the first three: diet, consistency, and sleep and recovery. That's all
Nice.
she's been focusing on. And her body's been changing and losing body fat, and her energy's up. Her hormones are getting more in balance. Her blood results are getting more in balance, all because those first three were getting focused on.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about unrealistic expectations for a second. Social media has played a major role in on how the average physique should look like. Women influencers look flawless in the perfect waist to hip ratios, and men influencers are these super jacked all year round dudes. Those are unsustainable physiques for the average person. How big of a problem you think it is, especially when it comes to the average guy just striving to have a decent body, but then he gets demotivated by these extreme comparisons? What are the implications of this?
Yeah, it's sad how strong of an impact social media has been playing on this. And it's gotten worse and worse over the years because people are now turning to social media as a profession and influencing as a profession. And that's what companies look for. And so they look for those people that have that perfect look. And the younger generations, or the people who are trying to change their bodies, start looking towards these people and idolizing these people. And like I said earlier, they look at the end result. They don't look at the journey of how they got
Yeah.
there. And pair that with the world we live in of instant gratification, of pushing a button on your phone and food shows up at your door. it it kind of creates this unrealistic expectation of, oh, I just need to do this for X amount of time and I'll look like that, when in reality you can't really put a timeline on what your body's going to be doing, how your physique's going to be changing. And it can really put a big strain on mental health of people who are trying to achieve that physique.
Hmm.
For women, they, a lot of issues I've seen is people who go into extreme diets. They think if they go to an extreme diet, their body's going to magically change and they're going to have the booty that they want, the hips that they want, the arms they want, the abs. And when they don't get there, they get discouraged and they go back to their normal habits and they just go through this little cycle. And then for men, I see a lot of this play out surprisingly more so in the younger generations coming up,
Hmm.
of them wanting to step into, you know, big broad frame, look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, look like Jay Cutler, or the new age Chris Bumstead.
Chris Buff said, yeah.
Yeah, and they're thinking like, oh, I got to do all these things, and then they start crossing over into you know supplementation and getting things that they shouldn't be getting, and not really knowing the implications that it can have on their health for the future.
Yeah.
And so it can get people in places that they really shouldn't be, physically, health wise, mentally, and it can become very, very discouraging to even try because a lot of the times they
Yeah.
feel that they'll never look like X, they'll never look like this person that they see online when they don't realize that they've been doing it for years. They have a team around them that's, telling them what to do.
Yeah.
They also have people editing their photos and videos and everything that they're posting online. So it just more and more creates this unrealistic expectation that can have ripple effects throughout that person's life if they consistently and continually apply themselves or compare themselves to what they're seeing online and what they're telling themselves is their goal.
Yeah. And not only that, you are comparing yourself with people that have elite genetics. The people that make it to, the 10 million plus influencers or the bodybuilders, Mr. Olympias, you're not just competing with people who take the most drugs, it's people who have elite genetics and the bodies respond amazingly
Mhm.
to the training and to everything. It's just like a natural selection kind of thing that people at the top tend to have the best genetics, and you should know your limits, the limits to your body. And perhaps it's going to be very beneficial if you just accept, I'm never going to look like Chris Bumstead, but I want to look whatever the best version of my body can be at. And that suddenly you're just comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. And
Mhm.
that's something, something healthy. That's something good. Because you
Yeah.
can always be better than yesterday, but you cannot be better than someone else's stats, which could be just genetically superior.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. That's a phrase that I use with my clients is just be 1% better than
Yeah.
you were yesterday. And it goes very, very closely into what you're saying of not comparing yourself to other people, but compare yourself to yourself. And if you're improving, then that's what really matters.
Exactly.
Is we all have our own strengths. We're all unique individuals that shine in different areas. Some people, yeah, it may be in their physical appearance. Other people, it can be their mind and other skills and talents. But if we're solely focusing on one section in our life, we could be disregarding all the other beautiful things that we could be giving.
True. And among these people, since you belong in the bodybuilder community, what percentage of fitness influencers and bodybuilders, more specifically, you think suffer from some sort of body dysmorphia?
Almost all of us.
Almost all of it. Wow.
um, because we're very hypercritical of
Hmm.
ourselves, or at least me speaking personally, I'm very hypercritical. And to get to, that level, to get to the Olympia, which is like the best of the best, you kind of have to be because they're so nitpicky in their finite details. And so it can turn into a very unhealthy habit if it's not controlled and if it's
Mm.
not intentional or directed in a certain way. Um, because even when you're getting compliments from people in the gym and you're like, oh, thanks, but I still have this that I need to fix. I still have this that I want to focus on. Or so it's when you constantly look at what you lack,
Mm.
that's where body dysmorphia comes in, and you never acknowledge what you truly have. And so there's a fine balance to dance, and I feel like a lot of us in this space sometimes fall pretty hard, and other times we recognize um, where we're strong at because we have to continue living this kind of lifestyle.
It's difficult, yeah. And it's so sad to see even those who made it still feel insecure about the way they look, like the accomplished fitness bodybuilders. It makes you think that no matter how much you focus on your appearance, if you don't love yourself for who you truly are, you will never be satisfied with external validation. So
Yeah.
yeah, bodybuilding, so building a good body will make you more confident, might get you the goals that you are after, might get you some compliments, but it doesn't make up for the lack of internal self worth.
Mhm.
So, focusing on that perhaps should precede focusing and nitpicking on how good you look.
Mhm. No, I
So,
I completely agree with that.
and when it comes to these unrealistic expectations that are set by social media and society, who do you think has it worse? Is it women or is it men who have the most pressure to look good? To look good, yeah,
Mhm.
the most
I feel
unrealistic pressure. Unrealistic pressure.
unrealistic pressure, yes.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like women do have it harder as far as
Hmm.
their physical appearance goes. Yeah, I do feel like women do have it harder because of how women has been used in marketing, in advertising, or even in the old movies. You know, the pretty hot beautiful girl was the most popular and she was the
Yeah.
most liked, and that's kind of how women in our generation were raised, of like, oh, if you're pretty, if you look a certain way, if you dress a certain way, you're going to be received better than the women who are overweight or the women who don't take care of themselves or things like that. And us men, it's basically, yeah, if we're fat, we may get made fun of, but if not, then we kind of get left alone. And
That's
so,
true.
yeah, I feel like women kind of get the short end of the stick there as far as the physical disparities that happens with the unrealistic expectations. Um, and to be fair to the men, I feel like we have it harder on the ways we're supposed to act or be as men.
Hmm. What do you mean by that?
I feel like there's two sides. We either get criticized because we're not supportive enough, or passive enough, right? Being the ever-present boyfriend or husband that's supporting their spouse, or we're not masculine enough. We're not dominant. We're not assertive. We're not confident. And it's those two people that are seen as more successful. Because most of the gym bros, most of the influencers you see, they're very authoritative, they're very assertive, domineering in a sense.
Mm.
Or you have those outliers like Chris Bumstead, right? He's very calm demeanored,
Hmm.
but he has the physique. And so that's what puts him as an outlier there. And so it's interesting on how social media has impacted both men and women, but in
Hmm.
very distinct ways.
Right, right. Because women most of the time are mainly judged by their looks. How so? It's a constant fight every single day. The makeup, the clothes, the waist, the Instagram is all about how you constantly look, and men judged by their status and resources. So, being this aggressive, dominant man, I guess it would give you status in this industry. So, I see the connection there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And between these influencers' advice, because there's a lot of nonsense out there, there's a lot of bullshit, there's a lot of people just, they're just lucky with the body they have, and they're very good marketers, or they have good Instagram profiles. How much of the advice out there you see is bullshit, and how much is solid advice? Like, how can people differentiate? Because I know that's a tricky one, but we need
Uh-huh.
to help people.
Yeah. No, like that's the whole reason why I got into training and coaching, was to cut through all of the crap online, all of the misconceptions, all of the fad diets, if you will. Because it's, man, there is a lot. There's a lot out there, um, that work for certain people, and they con it off as the new magic pill or the new magic way of doing things, or the diet, or doing this a certain way is going to create results you've never had before. And so a lot of the terminology that's being used is just that, is that it's a term. It's supposed to create excitement so that
Mhm,
you follow through with it. And so the best advice I can give to people trying to cut through that is to simply do some research. Try to find actual studies that support or disprove whatever advice that they're listening to. And then the second option is, if you're struggling to find that, is maybe even put it to the test. Give yourself a time to actually try it. Be
Mhm.
very focused on how your body is responding. And if it is responding well, great. But most of the time, if it's kind of the BS on the internet, you're going to see very quickly that nothing's going to be changing. And so don't fall into the trap of something new and shiny.
Hmm.
Um, just because one social media influencer says it's going to work doesn't mean it is. And so, like with my people, I always try to teach foundational things:
Yeah.
food, nutrition, exercise, sleep, vitamins, like things that are tried and true since the dawn of time, was
Yeah.
really going to bring the results, and not just this quick fix to make you feel like something's going to happen.
Yeah, if Arnold could have that physique 50 years ago with basic exercises in a steel iron gym,
Yep.
you don't need all these fancy tricks and gadgets and equipment and super keto diets and nonsense that it's all marketing. It's all people trying to capitalize on novelty. Like, here's
Mhm.
something new, like, and maybe like, they associate the brand with them so that they're authentic and they're just trying to sell you stuff. But yeah, as you said, just fundamentals. That's everything, fundamentals.
Mhm.
And okay, so changing a little bit topic, how prevalent are steroids and Ozempic at the hands of the average person nowadays? I haven't followed the fitness industry much in the last couple of years, but last time I checked, everyone was trying to get something to look better. What do you see at the gyms or at these circles?
Yeah, so with all of the additional supplementation with steroids, with Ozempic, with even peptides are now
Hmm.
coming in. They're ever present. They're continuing to increase. And what's scary and worrying is that it's happening in younger and younger generations. Um, because before, you would only hear guys, jumping on some stuff when late 20s, maybe in their 30s. And now
Hmm.
kids who just turn 18, 19, even some people at 17 years old are starting to get testosterone.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's still very present, and I'd say it's getting abused in ways that are influenced by that instant gratification, the quick fix, especially like you're saying with the Ozempic, the semaglutide, that whole phase that's came out as a craze these past years.
Insane.
That it's the quick fix to
Quick
get
fix.
skinny, but they don't, kind of what we said, go look at the foundational principles behind of what is actually happening. Like semaglutide was there for people who were diabetic,
Hmm.
who could not lose weight, who were very insulin sensitive. Their body would pack on fat no matter what they did. And then they conned this as a weight loss drug without even revealing kind of the possible side effects. And so it's just, it's scary, kind of what we're saying about marketing and advertising, how impactful it is to influence people's actions rather than the truth behind things is that steroids, Ozempic, those types of things are not going to give you the physique that you want. It is going to be what we said at the very beginning, those first five principles,
Hmm.
those are what's going to make the changes and make lasting changes without impacting your health in ways that those types of drugs would.
Hmm. Yeah, and with the Ozempic thing is it is marketed as like the god drug, is like no side effects, so good for you. And you need to think we don't have long-term studies for this. It has been out for barely a year. So yes, so far hasn't had an impact, but you don't know what is going to be in 10 years, what the impact might be, either psychological or physical. And whoever is funding those studies now, which are all scientific studies, like who is funding those? Are there maybe the people behind Ozempic? It's
Uh-huh.
like when Gatorade used to fund those studies about hydration. That, oh, we came out that hydration is extremely important. Here, drink this Powerade. Yeah, you are funding that study. Of course, it's gonna come up. People need to, be a bit more skeptical about these scientific studies that come out in 1 month, and
Yeah.
think about how about long-term side effects, because that's where they get you. And I've been at the gym before. I know a little bit about steroids. It's not that you're going to take for a month or a cycle and you're done. It's that cycle after cycle, after 6 7 years, now you have the problem.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, people need to be a little bit more skeptical, I want to say.
Oh yeah, just do your research. Like if it's important to you, research it and put in a little bit more effort than just seeing a post and then going and doing something.
Those people, oh, I saw a TikTok, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna
Yeah.
use it now. Yeah.
One
Crazy.
video, I believe it. Yeah.
And this is a tricky one as well, because people people who promote these things, their livelihood depends on them looking good and
Mhm.
claiming natural, and obviously they cannot admit that they're taking shortcuts because it might damage their brand, their reputation,
Mhm.
and some even lose millions out of it. That being said, what percentage of the fitness influencers you think are on something, either man or woman, like from all these people, like let's say the top 1% that everyone looks up to? Do
Mhm.
you think, like, again, almost everyone is on something? Either be it peptides, SARMs, or, it doesn't have to be heavy steroids.
Yeah. I believe, I do believe that most of those influencers are supplementing with something,
Hmm.
whether that be steroids or peptides or even SARMs, which are still like, they're not steroids. They mimic results of steroids. So people kind of get around that one. But I do believe that a lot of them do supplement.
Hmm.
Um, just because a lot of the physiques to maintain something like that year round is not, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the outliers of the genetics, right? It's very difficult to maintain a certain type of physique year
Hmm.
after year. Um, and so I do think that there are some type of supplementation going on, whether it be peptides, SARMs, steroids, some type of additional um, impact or supplement.
Yeah, and that goes back to the expectations we were talking about.
Mhm.
Always think, if you're gonna just take your protein and creatine, don't expect to look like those people, because they're past beyond protein and creatine and amino acids.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep that in mind.
Mhm.
Okay, so I want to change topic a bit. As a personal trainer, what matters to you the most when you train someone at the gym? Is it form? Is it how heavy the weights they lift? Is it the intensity of the workout? What is it that you see? What do you focus the most?
So for me, it's form overall, and then intensity, and then the weight. Because
Mm.
if you're lifting incorrectly, you're going to be very prone to injury, muscle strains, possible joint injuries, ligament injuries. Um, and so form, bar none, is the most important. After that, it's the intensity, because you can get a really good workout with just 10-pound dumbbells, moving them correctly. And
Ah.
if your form's good, you can get a really, really good pump. Um, and just creating that level of intensity. So the weight doesn't necessarily matter as much. It's more so how you move that weight and the intensity you move it with.
Right. That is the exact opposite of what I see people do at the gym.
Yeah.
Mostly guys, there's like bad form, heavy weight, and just like got it, lift it 3 times, not full range of motion, and call it a day.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I can't even go there and correct him, because who am I? It's like, I'm a skinny dude. I'm not a trainer. They're gonna be like, what do you know? But
Oh
uh,
man, I don't even do that. I'm
you
just like,
you
let,
you don't need, but you see then, oh come on, man, you're gonna rip a muscle. What are you doing?
yeah, it's like you're gonna get hurt. But all right.
What advice would you give to someone who has been at the gym before but find it boring? This is many, if not all, of my friends fall in this category.
Mhm.
Man, I've been doing gym for 3 5 years, but now it's boring. How, how do you spice it up? Do you need a partner? Maybe. Do you need to? maybe they're doing something wrong, or maybe the way they look at working out is discouraging. Do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, no, it's something that's very common. Um, but yeah, having a gym partner can definitely help create that level of accountability for us men. You know, that level of competition, the little bit of
Nice.
ego comes out. Um, so that can definitely help out. But it's for me, it's more so. I know I'm not the average person, but I do it more so as like a self challenge
Hmm.
of trying to like prove to myself that I'm gonna get something done very difficult and push it to my limit and try to go past that. And so I guess for me, I do that because of the goals that I have. And if you're just going to the gym to go to the gym and just to be able to say, yeah, I went to the gym today, then it's yeah, you're already getting that. You're not gonna stick around. But if you have a good goal, I say if you have a good why, like why are you going to the gym? Why are you wanting to lift? Why are you wanting to get a better body? That usually creates more fuel to push past the monotony of going to the gym and doing the same thing day in, day out. Um, and then my last little bit of advice is find something that motivates you inside the gym.
Hmm.
Whether that be getting stronger, improving your form, feeling better mind muscle connection, um, getting a better pump. Like there's something that you can do in the gym to make it more exciting. It's just you got kind of got to tweak how you think of it a little bit instead of just going to exercise or man, this is really gonna suck. I don't want to go do this. I'm gonna get hot and sweaty.
Hmm.
It's shift the mind a little bit of like, no, I'm gonna push myself. I'm gonna get a really good pump, and 9 times out of 10, you're gonna feel a lot better afterwards. So if you're feeling a little bit down, go work out, and it'll help pick you up a little bit.
I like that you mentioned the why, because that's something not so commonly talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the reason people fail at the gym is that they want to get fit for the aesthetics of it, like having a summer body and abs and looking good for on Instagram, but they don't do it to stay healthy, which is supposed to be the whole purpose of being fit and getting a good body. And that
Yes.
is not really sustainable, as well as not really healthy. Because if you've been eating like a pig all winter and you've been lazy, and now suddenly is April and you have 2 to 3 months to starve yourself and get on all these weight loss supplements and you push yourself and everything suffers around you just to get that bitch body, that is not really good for your health. So having that why, knowing why you want to be healthy and having a good why, not just I want to look good in Ibiza for 2 days. Yeah, that's very, very important and overlooked.
Yeah. No, it branches into a place of coaching that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's the mental side of things.
Hmm.
Of like the why is I put in the brain, right? Our mind and body, they're one, and if your mind isn't in it, if you don't have that why, your body's not going to do what you want it to. You're kind of going without a direction. And the question I've been asked about a why or the reason, it's like when do you know it's big enough? When do you know the why is important enough to push through those heavy days? And my answer is once emotion gets involved. Because if
Hmm.
emotion's involved with a goal, you're more likely to accomplish that goal. And so to get a little personal for me, the reason I started fitness, I went through a very, very hard time in my life and I didn't like who I saw in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself. And so I was like, I'm going to change something. And so I started working and then I hit that wall of, well, why am I even doing this?
Hmm.
This is hard. I don't like it. This hurts. And I dove deeper into, I don't care about how I look, but I care about how I take care of myself because I was putting myself last. And then that branched into well, if I can help myself, I can help other people. I can help them find an impact through health and fitness, through taking care of themselves that will help support the rest of their life. And so that's really kind of what drove me deeper and deeper into the fitness and bodybuilding world, was just to understand it better so that I could help out other people more. And it's like it gets my emotions going because I'm a very empathetic person, and I can put myself in other people's shoes, knowing what it feels like to have lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem because of how you look. Because I've been there, but I also know the other side of it, of once you get past that and start taking care of yourself, it doesn't really matter how you look, because you're treating yourself with love and care and emotion. And that in itself brings confidence. And so that's a big reason. That's my why.
Mhm.
And so if you don't get deep, like deep in your own self to figure something out like that, it's going to be very difficult to get past that 6 month mark of trying to be fit.
No, I like that. That's a very nice. That's a very virtuous why. I'm glad you found it.
Mm.
That's nice. And among your fitness clients, what are some common challenges you see people face? And what is perhaps the most common thing why people can achieve the gains that what they want? Have you seen something stand out among all of your clients?
Yes. Yes, very much so. It's the, I think a big overarching theme for a lot of people is they overcomplicate, right? They
Mm.
get lost in the weeds. They get they see so many things on social media, on the internet, of what you should be doing, and they get overwhelmed. They overcomplicate it, get overwhelmed, and then they just throw their hands up, be like, you know what, this just isn't for me. And my a model that I love is a simply is one word, and it is simplify. Simplify your approach to fitness, simplify your approach to health, to exercise, diet, like everything. Because if a goal or yeah, if a goal is simple enough, it's not as daunting.
Yeah,
If your approach to a goal is simple, it seems obtainable. If your outlook on something is simple, you look at it as something you can do. And so, yeah, with those people, I just tell them, it's like, hey, you're getting lost, man. Like you're
yeah,
way overthinking things. Like let's bring it back a bit. What's an easy fix? Easy fix.
right.
Like don't don't think of all these crazy things that you got to do. Let's think of one thing we can do today to get us on the right track.
Perfect. No, that's good. That's good. That's solid advice. Again, go back to fundamentals, control the controllables, take it easy, and when you feel confident enough and strong enough, then you push. That's it.
Yeah,
Say
exactly.
because a lot of these exercises you see from Chris Bumstead is, again, he's an elite level athlete, so you can't really copy his workout plan for 1 hour and a half twice a day. Is
Yeah.
you take it easy there.
Uh-huh.
Other than the simplification of training, what is something you like to see people pay more attention to when it comes to health and exercise?
How they're actually feeling through the process.
Interesting.
Because it's again, it goes back to that mind and body thing where it's if they're one. If they're feeling overwhelmed, then it's too complicated, or it's too much for them at that time. If they're feeling bored, okay, then let's ramp it up a little bit. Let's give it a little bit more challenge. If they're feeling unsettled with something, okay, then they're not understanding. Like something isn't clicking within their brain. And so I take time with my clients to talk to them. I'm like, hey, how are we actually feeling this week? Like, how's life going? How's your routine going? Because all of these things add up to what is the lifestyle that we're trying to teach them. And so if they're feeling off, then something in their life isn't fitting correctly. It's not syncing up how it should be. I know it's a very, very different outlook than a lot of people, but I found it to be very, very true and helpful to getting people to see the results. Um, because again, it's going back to that foundation. It creates something that's more sustainable and something that you can be more consistent at.
Absolutely. I like that. I like that. I want to go back a little bit to the unrealistic expectations we were talking at the
Yeah.
beginning. People should also realize that so much of the content you see online is very, very carefully crafted. You know,
Mhm.
you have the perfect light angles. As you said, you have a team of editors who are very good at what they're doing. They're gonna make you look more muscular. And a lot of these people, a lot of these influencers, they have this 1 week of where they peak physique throughout the year. And in that 1 week, they take millions of pictures in different clothes and different settings so that they have content for the whole year. And
Mhm.
now you see them post these pictures throughout the year, and you have these fake expectations like, oh, this guy has been ripped the whole year. Well, if he can do it, then I'll just buy his program and I'll be like him. But
Yep.
you don't realize that it's just is a trick that they do. Other they are on everything and they can maintain it. But most people just take this very carefully curated content and they save it and they upload it, over time. And again, you should be very cautious believing these people
Mhm.
because I think that's unfortunately most people I know, they take for face value whatever comes up on Instagram. Like if someone said it, if someone wears a doctor's jacket, if someone just has abs out, it's like they know what they're talking about.
Uh-huh.
But it's just so infuriating because if you know how harmful that might be, and that might be there's one small thing that will discourage you from following fitness the rest of your life because you might try and take that product, that course, or that advice, and it's not going to work out for you. And
Mhm.
from there, you're going to be like, well, it's not for me, so let me go back to having a beer belly.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
all too common. Yeah.
So, if you could go back to your younger self and give him an advice about working out or staying healthy, what would it be?
That's a good question. I actually think about this a lot because I fell into the same trap of like jumping around to influencers or to the big names or, trying different things. And I think that I lost a lot of time and a lot of worry on whether I was doing something the optimal way, the best way. And so my my advice to my younger self is, I mean, this has been a repeated message on our talk today, but it's just stick with the foundations.
Yeah.
Just stick with like the simple factual things that work, because there's a million different ways to work out your chest. But if you're not working it out right with the good form, it's not going to matter, or it's not going to be as beneficial. Um, and I think, yeah, I would tell my younger self the phrase simplify, because I didn't discover that till a couple of years back. And so yeah, just simplify the approach and make things more manageable for yourself.
Nice, nice. Okay, Jacob, favorite fitness influencer and why? Why is he your favorite?
um, I have two, well, three of them that I look up to. Chris Bumstead is obviously there, more so not just because he was Mr. Olympia.
Mhm.
That's just a side benefit, but just how he carries himself. He's a very humble man. He's
So
very,
humble.
yeah, he's not a braggart. He doesn't boast. He puts in the work, but he also tries to uplift those around him. Recently became a fan of Matt Sommerfeld in the classic division. He German bodybuilder. He's just a funny, quirky dude. And he curls his mustache on stage like I do. And so helped me kind of like, hey, that's fun. So he's just a fun personality that I like. And then the other one, Matt Grego, he's another classic physique guy.
Mhm.
He's a very, very big mental health advocate, which I'm a fan of. He shared his own journey of how bodybuilding helped pull him out of depression, and so I really respect that. And just to see him take off as he has is inspiring. And
I
so
like how
those are
I
the
like
three.
how the common thing among your three examples was an emotional aspect
Mhm.
of the bodybuilding, and it wasn't how good they look. And that just shows you how once you got the body like yourself, it's not as important as the whole emotional journey and who you feel you are, how worthy you are, and how healthy mentally you stay. So that's very interesting to hear, and I'm glad you look at it that way because I think that's the best way you can look at it.
Yeah, because it's I look at I like to look at people for their character, not so much of how they look. Because if I mean, think of a person, a blind man's world. It doesn't matter how they look; it's just how they interact with people. And so that's what I respect most in people of how they treat others and their character.
That's nice. Okay, last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
That everyone around me felt important.
Nice. I like that. Nice. Right, Jacob, where can people find you if they want some personal coaching or perhaps if they just want to get inspired by you, man?
Yeah, so I have a website. It's called trainsteadfast.com. I'm also on Instagram, Larsen underscore fitness 42. Larsen is spelled with an EN, Larsen. And yeah, I'm open to anybody reaching out, saying hi, asking questions. I'm taking on free consultation calls right now. So you can schedule some time and ask me questions there.
Fantastic. I hope people will reach out. Right,
Great.
Jacob, thank you very much, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francesco.